This might come as a surprise to many, but conservative ideologies are inherently misogynistic. And that's not to say that every single person that identifies as a conservative is a misogynist, or that every misogynist is a conservative. But the vast majority of conservatives are misogynist. This isn't confined to American conservatives, Western culture, or Christianity. It is a worldwide problem that is magnified by right-wing conservatism. While misogyny is deeply ingrained in nearly every culture in human history, it finds its most receptive audience among conservative ideologies, especially among the religious. The desire for men to control women is codified in religious dogma and is used as an external justification for placing women in class systems. The arguments of divine structure handed down by men to subjugate women are the same as the ones used to justify slavery and the caste system. The way women are treated by conservative Muslims, Hindus, and Christians is indistinguishable. Women are treated as an inferior class of people. They all have a system of subjugation that requires women to follow the commands of men, and which limits the roles women can serve in society. Without a divine ordinance, it doesn't take long for people to recognize the abuse, which is why an increasingly secular society has directly coincided with an increase in women's rights. In fact, an increase in human rights is directly correlated with the rise of secularism. It doesn't take a PhD to see the connection between secularism and increases in equality. It is no surprise to also find that education plays an equally important role in the relationship. The Taliban stops women from attending school past the 6th grade, while Republicans discourage women from attending college and having independent careers. That is why conservatives attack the education system and work to limit women from attaining higher education. They understand that a proper education not only instills knowledge of the world in one's field of study, but more importantly, it arms one with the skills necessary to investigate the world and find new solutions. Education aims to create a new generation of thinkers capable of progressing human understanding. What do we benefit by training people to perform regimented tasks? All we have done is place a pause on human progression in favor of tradition, which is the core tenet of conservatism. By definition, conservatism is an ideology that wishes to preserve old ways of doing things, and therefore antithetical to human progress. Nowhere is this more evident than the fight for women's equality. Conservatives embrace an authoritarian model of social governance born out of primitive views of power. Whoever is physically the strongest is the de facto leader. Might makes right. This idea exhibits itself today in their worship of alpha male fantasies. They worship power and anyone they perceive to hold it or represent it, whether real or imagined. That is why they also love guns so much. It instantly turns scared little boys into G.I. Joe, granting power to those that otherwise feel powerless. There's a desperate need to feel powerful among conservative men, and women provide them an easy outlet for their pent-up aggression. Republicans overwhelmingly voted against renewing the Violence Against Women Act in 2021. Why? Because violence is a method of controlling women. Men use their physical dominance to subjugate women and indoctrinate them into believing they are second-class citizens. All of the major religions are used as tools of misogyny, as they teach women to measure their worth through men. Women are relegated to the sidelines of life, as men are given the starring role from birth. Little girls are sexualized in revealing clothing, as their participation in sports is mostly limited to cheering on the boys in hopes of garnering their attention. Even as women's participation in sports and professional careers has increased, we still witness sexism rearing its ugly face. And not just from the typical men lashing out from insecurities, but from the women themselves. Conservative women will hurl insults, smear, and denigrate successful women in an attempt to forcibly instill their social norms on others. Hillary Clinton knows this all too well, as she was the target of conservative women and men alike throughout her husband's presidency. They hated that she was educated and outspoken. She was to be a silent supporter of her male counterpart. Even when she chose to work out his infidelity privately and remain at his side, which is the position highly advocated in conservative circles, she was still criticized. She had already broken form with the rules laid out for women, and this offense was unforgivable. Then there are women like H. Pearl Davis and Transformed Wife that have risen to internet fame by degrading women. They undermine women's accomplishments and paint women as incompetent beings incapable of rational thought. They should do as their husbands command, including voting for whom he chooses, if they are allowed to vote at all. It's not uncommon to hear conservative talking heads point to women gaining the right to vote as a moment in which society moved toward depravity. All of this while conservatives attempt to gaslight their position as one that truly values women and looks to protect them from modern exploitation. Women's autonomy over their body and mind isn't exploitation. Boxing women into defined roles and measuring their worth according to those standards is exploitation. It is in fact the epitome of objectification, as women are reduced from their equal human capacities to a set that men find attractive. Their intelligence is diminished as men find it threatening. They are painted as emotionally unstable, while men lash out violently, quit jobs, and have conflicts with others in greater abundance. Are these not all exhibitions of emotional instability? How many wars are started by women? What % of violent crimes are committed by women? All of the attacks on women's characters are meant to reduce their self-worth and make them feel dependent on men. Misogyny has reached a real tipping point, as more women and even men are seen through the traditional tools of subjugation. A sharp decline in religion is loosening the hold, and the misogynists are lashing out as they try to regain control. Women are still a huge voting bloc for conservatives, one they can't afford to lose. Conservatives rely on a rigged system combined with indoctrination to maintain political power, which is in turn used to perpetuate the abuse of women and other minorities. Women overwhelmingly support the right to abortions, and they are ignored within the conservative movement, which is consistent with the way they treat women as a whole. They don't hide the abuse of women, though, instead opting for gaslighting as a defense, trying to convince women that subjugation is the way things are meant to be. Women are openly told they can't perform the same roles as men, because God doesn't think they should. Why would a God that loves all people equally create a class system that favors one group over another? Religion is the tool of misogynists everywhere. Men create stories that blame women for every conceivable problem in the world. Look no further than the story of Eve seeking knowledge. She cursed the world by eating a fruit to gain knowledge. Knowledge. What a terrible thing to yearn for. Then women are told they are cursed with labor pains and need men to rule over them because of this fictional transgression by Eve. Is there anything more blatantly misogynistic than this? This is the basis for Christian men beating and raping women with impunity for nearly 2,000 years. The Bible relegates rape to a property crime against the man, and if she's unmarried, it is her father that must be paid for the transgression. The woman could be required to marry her rapist to add further insult. A man was given full dominion over a woman's body and could beat her or kill her so long as an excuse could be made that satisfied the patriarchy. It was considered within a man's legal rights in the United States to beat his wife until the late 19th century, and there are still many circles of conservative Christians that find this acceptable today. In 29 countries, more than a third of people believe it is okay for a husband to beat his wife. To lock women into these abusive relationships, conservatives adamantly oppose the right of a woman to divorce her husband. Bible verses are openly used to justify their misogyny, and men don't deny that they are controlling their wives. They are doing it for God. The abuses of conservatives are public for everyone to see, because they deflect responsibility and claim divine authority. The same tactic used by generations to fuel genocides and bigotry against the LGBTQ community, Jews, and other minorities. Conservative Christians have been the most violent and abusive in-group in Western culture. They are so abusive that they not only target out groups, they also abuse their own female members, just for being born a woman. When a group believes they have God on their side, they will dehumanize and abuse anyone they deem as inferior. These are the traditions that conservatives wish to normalize and retain in modern society. The relationship between conservatives and religion is fertile ground for misogyny and bigotry. It is the duty of every person of good conscience to oppose the harmful practices of conservative ideologies. Women deserve the same rights as men and full control over their lives. Misogyny has no place in a civilized society and should be viewed as a form of slavery.